My ex-wife had me thrown out of our family business, said I was dead weight. A year later, I returned as the owner's silent partner. Chapter 1: Dead Weight. I gave 23 years to the business my father built from scratch. It started in a one-room warehouse with no heating and one flickering light bulb. I remember helping him pack orders after school, both of us covered in dust, our hands raw from folding cardboard. He always said, "Family first, then the customers. Treat both with respect and you'll never go hungry." When he passed, he left the business and its legacy to my brother and me. But blood, as I learned the hard way, means little when greed is thicker. It didn't happen overnight. At first, my brother's wife, Megan, just helped with the books. Then she was streamlining operations. Before long, she was in every meeting, questioning every move I made. Every time I approved a budget, she'd call it reckless. Every time I pitched a new vendor, she'd say it was too risky. "She's just being careful," my brother said. "You know how she is with numbers." But the numbers started to turn. The profit margins dipped. Staff I'd hired and trained were let go for efficiency. Our longtime receptionist, Mrs. Laney, who had worked for my dad, was fired over a clerical mistake she didn't make. And then came the board meeting. Megan sat at the head of the table, not my brother. Her lipstick was a shade too red for business, her tone rehearsed and ice cold. "We've reviewed the performance data," she said, sliding a file toward me. "Your leadership style doesn't align with our new direction. The board agrees it's time for you to transition out." My brother couldn't even look at me. I opened the file. Severance, non-compete, confidentiality. The whole corporate execution package neatly tied with a condescending smirk. "You're dead weight now, Tom," Megan said softly, as if she were doing me a kindness. "You should enjoy your life. Maybe take up gardening." I didn't sign that day. I didn't say a word. But I walked out of that building, the one I helped build, with my father's watch on my wrist and a storm in my chest. And as the cold wind hit my face, I knew one thing: I wasn't done. Chapter 2: The Man with the Envelope. I spent the next few months in silence. No press, no lawyers, no shouting matches. I let Megan think she'd won, let her parade around the office with her vision, restructuring what she barely understood. My brother followed her lead like a shadow with a heartbeat, never questioning, just nodding along. And I waited. I moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment above a hardware store and started showing up at places Megan would never think to look. Old warehouses, auction yards, estate sales. I wasn't done with business. I was done with their business. But I still had one card left and a name. It came from a man I met years ago at a charity golf event. He didn't say much, but I remembered his handshake. Firm, 2 seconds too long. And his business card, embossed in silver. Nathan Ridgewell, Capital Partner. Solace Equity Holdings. That name didn't mean much back then. Now, Solace Equity was buying up every mid-sized business in the region, and Ridgewell, quiet billionaire type, never seen in photos, moves through proxies, but I knew people, and someone owed me a favor. 2 months later, I met Ridgewell in the back of a dim cigar lounge. He was older than I remembered, eyes sharp behind wire-rimmed glasses. "You want me to buy your old company?" he asked, sipping from a glass of something brown and expensive. "No," I said, sliding a folder across the table. "I want you to own it. I'll help you double its value, but I want to be invisible. No press, no seat on the board. Silent partner. And I want them to never know it was me." He skimmed the folder. "You know this is personal." "It's business and personal." He smiled faintly. "I like that." That was the beginning. By the time spring came around, Ridgewell had acquired 51% of the company through 3 shell firms. Not even Megan noticed. She was too busy remodeling the lobby and bragging about aggressive expansion. Then came the board meeting. I didn't attend. I didn't need to. But a week later, a courier knocked on my apartment door. He handed me an envelope. Heavy stock, gold seal. Inside, just one letter. Congratulations on the successful acquisition. As per our agreement, your equity stake is fully active. Welcome back, Mr. Patterson. Solace Equity Holdings. I stood there, alone in that apartment, staring at the letter. Not angry, not smug, just steady. Because Megan had no idea I was already inside the building. Chapter 3. When Megan called for security, the lobby looked different. She'd gutted the place, replaced the walnut panels with sleek white marble, modern sculptures no one understood, and some abstract painting that looked like spilled wine. It no longer looked like the company I built. But that didn't matter, because it wasn't hers anymore, and she was about to find out. I walked through the glass doors in a navy blue suit, the same brand Megan once mocked me for wasting money on instead of marketing. My shoes echoed crisply across the tile. No one recognized me. The new receptionist offered a clipped, "Do you have an appointment?" "I believe they're expecting me upstairs," I said with a smile. The elevator ride was quiet. The moment the doors opened to the executive floor, chaos began. Megan was pacing the hallway, phone pressed to her ear, barking at someone about financials not aligning, and why weren't we notified? When she turned and saw me, her face froze mid-sentence. Her eyes narrowed. What are you doing here?" Before I could answer, she snapped at the assistant behind her. "Call security, now. He's not supposed to be here." I didn't flinch. Instead, I calmly reached into my coat pocket and handed her an envelope, a familiar one. Heavy stock, gold seal. She hesitated, then yanked it open. Her eyes scanned the page, once, twice, and then again. Color drained from her face. "No," she whispered. "This isn't possible. This can't be legal." "Oh, it's not just legal," I said softly. "It's been signed, sealed, and voted on by your own board. The controlling interest was quietly acquired over the last 4 months. You were too busy redesigning the break room." Her lips parted like she was about to speak, but no words came out. Then came my brother, David, rushing out of his office. "What's going on?" He froze when he saw me. "You?" I nodded once. He looked at Megan, then the letter in her hand, then back at me. "Wait, you're the new silent partner?" I didn't answer. I just stepped forward and handed him a second envelope. His severance package. Megan's came next. They stood in stunned silence, holding the exact kind of paperwork they used to serve to others. Behind me, the elevator dinged. Security had arrived. The guards looked at me, then at Megan. I turned to them calmly. "Ms. Lewis and Mr. Patterson no longer have clearance. Please escort them out peacefully." The lead guard hesitated, then nodded. It was done. As Megan was led past me, she hissed, "You think this makes you the better man?" "No," I replied quietly. "I think it makes me the one who finished what I started." Chapter 4. The signature that changed everything. The boardroom was quiet. The kind of quiet that comes after a storm. 12 chairs, 11 executives, one empty seat at the head of the table. The one Megan used to sit in, often with a smirk and a dismissive flick of her pen. Now, all eyes were on me. I didn't rush. I took my time walking to the front, placing a thick leather folder on the mahogany table. Inside was everything. The documents, the rights transfer, the final controlling interest acquired just last night. Across from me sat Martin Chen, the longest-standing board member, and the only one who never voted against me in the past. He gave a small, respectful nod. "You're sure you want this?" he asked gently. "You could have just taken your profits and left. This is personal." I didn't deny it. It stopped being about the money the day my daughter had to overhear her mother tell guests that I'd never amount to anything beyond a punchline. I opened the folder. This company was my legacy before it was her playground. The final page sat waiting, one signature. That's all it took to trigger the official ownership change. I lifted the pen, but then paused, because even in that moment I thought of Emily, my daughter, and that night she cried because Megan said she was too much like her father, so I added something. At the bottom of the page, just before signing my name, I scribbled a note. For Emily, may no one ever again define your worth by their own blindness. Then I signed. The pen clicked shut with finality. Martin turned to the others. It's done, he announced. Effective immediately, Mr. Jacob Anders is reinstated as CEO and sole controlling owner. No applause, just the sound of a legacy returning home. That night, I didn't celebrate at a rooftop bar or call reporters. I drove to a quiet neighborhood. Emily was staying with her friend. I texted her, "Outside when you're ready." She came out in pajamas, blinking, confused. "Dad?" I held up a set of keys and nodded toward the curb. There, under a soft yellow street lamp, sat a black BMW. She gasped. "You're joking." "Nope," I said. "It's yours. But there's one condition." She looked at me, wide-eyed. "Never let anyone tell you who you are, especially someone who doesn't know what it took for you to get here." She threw her arms around me and whispered, "Thank you for never giving up on me." I held her tightly, and for the first time in a long time, I felt whole again. Epilogue, what they never saw coming. A year later, I stood in the same event hall where Megan once laughed at me. This time, I wasn't hiding by the balloon arch or sipping water, while others toasted to my irrelevance. This time, the room was mine. Not rented, owned. The newly renamed Anders Pavilion shimmered with crystal lighting and quiet class. It was hosting its first major charity gala, a fundraiser for underprivileged youth pursuing STEM education. The foundation? Also Emily's idea. She stood beside me that night, tall in confidence, stunning in her poise, welcoming guests as the new face of the Emily Grace Initiative. Her future was no longer defined by divorce settlements or half-hearted parenting plans. It was hers. Megan arrived halfway through, uninvited, trailing Greg like a ghost looking for relevance. They didn't know I'd be there, or that the largest donor of the evening was me, or that the evening's keynote speaker, my daughter, would thank her single father for never giving up even when others did. Megan's smile faltered. Greg stared at the floor. And I? I simply nodded. No vengeance, no smug grin, just peace. Because that's what true revenge looks like. Not noise, not rage, just a quiet life that proves them wrong. Was this revenge perfectly justified, or should the storm have raged harder? Drop your verdict below. I read every single one. Hit like if you crave justice, and share this story with someone who needs its fire. Subscribe to Lauren's story, because here, betrayals don't sleep. They hunt their owners. Every shadow hides a reckoning. Every mask breaks, and every betrayal is answered. Stay sharp. Stay unbroken. Stay tuned.